The Federal Aviation Administration is the government agency tasked with keeping our skies safe. Becoming a private pilot requires learning a lot of rules and regulations which the FAA enforces. But don't worry, their agents aren't like the guys from the Matrix movie. Many of them are pilots themselves and they want to protect our freedom to fly. If you ever make a mistake and break one of the rules, the goal of the FAA is not so much to punish you, but to teach you. Sometimes that might require additional training to get your flying privileges back. But the best way to keep flying is to make a diligent and ongoing effort to learn all the rules that govern general aviation. Most of those rules are the result of insights gained from accidents that have occurred over the past 100 years. Let's take a look at the early history of aviation and how the Federal Aviation Administration came to be. Then we'll review some of the regulations that all private pilots should be aware of. In the decade following the Wright brothers' historic flight at Kitty Hawk, many people began building different types of aircraft. It didn't take long for some to realize aviation's commercial possibilities. The St. Petersburg-Tampa Airboat Line became the world's first scheduled passenger airline service, flying passengers across Tampa Bay for $5. The 1925 Air Mail Act provided a boost for scheduled passenger flights by allowing private airlines to earn additional revenue by delivering the mail. Increased air traffic and safety concerns created a need for more government oversight. The 1926 Air Commerce Act gave the Secretary of Commerce the power to issue and enforce regulations, create airways, operate navigational aids, license pilots and certify aircraft. The 1938 Civil Aeronautics Act established the Civil Aeronautics Authority (CAA) to conduct accident investigations, regulate airline fares and assign routes to individual carriers. In 1940, President Roosevelt split the CAA into two agencies, the Civil Aeronautics Administration and the Civil Aeronautics Board. The Civil Aeronautics Administration returned to the Department of Commerce and retained responsibility for air traffic control, airman and aircraft certification, safety enforcement, and airway development. The newly established Civil Aeronautics Board focused on developing safety rules, investigating accidents, and regulating airline fares. The 1958 Federal Aviation Act established the Independent Federal Aviation Agency, which took over the responsibilities of the old Civil Aeronautics Administration. In 1967, the Federal Aviation Agency was renamed the Federal Aviation Administration, which became part of the newly created Department of Transportation. The accident investigation role of the Civil Aeronautics Board was transferred to another new organization, the National Transportation Safety Board. The following two videos give an overview of the roles and responsibilities of the FAA.
Today, at any busy hour, 75,000 people may be traveling in the air at one time, and their numbers are increasing every year. The nation's active civil air fleet, including air carriers, business and pleasure planes, now numbers more than 100,000. The Federal Aviation Administration, known as FAA, provides round-the-clock services necessary to assure safe, efficient flights for air travelers. One of the most important activities is the control of the nation's airways, and more than a third of FAA's 43,000 people are engaged in some form of air traffic control. Tower controllers work with aircraft landing or taking off. After takeoff, the plane, with the assistance of radar, is guided to a point where control is passed to an Air Route Traffic Control Center, one of 21 centers located around the United States. As each flight moves across the sky, control is passed from center to center, until it reaches its destination safely. Using radar, controllers maintain a protective space around each aircraft to ensure a safe, orderly movement of the flight. Radar scans the sky for airplanes which show up on controllers' radar scopes as bright dots or blips. At designated points along the flight, the aircraft's position is confirmed by the controller. This information is noted on the airplane's flight strip as a continuing record. There is careful, individual control of each IFR flight and constant communication between controller and pilot. The control centers, in effect, monitor and control flights along a complex system of highways in the sky. With more than 250,000 miles of airways and more than 100,000 planes, including military traffic, the system must not only be well operated, but well planned. This, too, is FAA's job. These highways in the sky are formed by signals from hundreds of radio navigation stations called VOR and BORTAC. Hundreds of these facilities and 500,000 miles of communications lines are used in the coast-to-coast network. In addition to operating these facilities, FAA maintains them, so pilots will have a dependable aerial navigation system. 65 FAA aircraft, specially equipped with the latest electronic devices, fly back and forth across the country more than 90,000 hours a year, constantly checking these navigational aids for accuracy and to ensure they are operating at peak efficiency. FAA's air safety responsibility begins with the aircraft. The administration monitors every phase of design, planning, and production to see that each plane meets established standards of safe, reliable flight. And the testing program is closely monitored on the ground, in exhaustive flight test programs, and even underwater in pressurization tests. And FAA supervises the physical examination of each pilot every 6 months for an airline pilot to make certain he is qualified for his job. And then there's the year-round medical research effort to investigate flight and its effects on man. Another continuing activity is the work of the FAA flight inspectors. These men, all fully qualified pilots themselves, periodically evaluate the performance of the airline pilots, the procedures and safety precautions in effect. FAA responsibility extends beyond commercial aviation to general aviation, business planes and private planes. It provides many services to the nation's 196,000 private pilots, who must be licensed by FAA, and supervises all administration-approved flying schools. The FAA also contributes to the national security by establishing a common air traffic control system for use by both military and civil aircraft. FAA conducts research and test programs designed to make aviation safer and more efficient. One such project is the use of flight simulators to study and evaluate air traffic. Each of these machines simulates an aircraft, each operator a pilot. Meanwhile, in another room, FAA controllers analyze the traffic problems flown by the simulators. Another project confirmed FAA guidelines limiting the operation of jet aircraft when more than a half-inch of water, slush, or snow covers the runway. Still another continuing research project is the improvement of runway lighting systems. But whether it is research or any of its other many responsibilities, the Federal Aviation Administration has one primary goal: to provide for the safety of those who use the airways and for the safety of the public at large.
Welcome. Here at the Federal Aviation Administration, our mission is to provide the safest, most efficient aerospace system in the world. And our entire organization is structured to do just that. You'll see in this video how we work together to ensure that we achieve this important mission. Let's take a look at how it happens. First, let me explain the magnitude of what the FAA does every day. There are up to 5,000 aircraft in the air at any given time. Each day, our air traffic controllers safely handle nearly 44,000 flights. This adds up to almost 2.6 million passengers every day and 9.7 million scheduled passenger flights per year. Here is a high-level, simplified overview of the FAA's primary operational, technical, and regulatory organizations. The Air Traffic Organization, or ATO, ensures the safe movement of aircraft in our airspace. The ATO comprises about 2/3 of the FAA population, or nearly 30,000 employees, including more than 14,000 air traffic controllers. If we examine a typical flight from, say, San Francisco to New York, we can see how all the parts of the ATO work together. From the start of any flight, it's under the watch of the Airport Traffic Control Tower, which provides clearance for takeoff, then follows the departure on the first few miles of its flight. When the aircraft leaves the immediate airport environment, it is handed off to a Terminal Radar Approach Control Facility, or TRACON. Controllers at TRACONs handle traffic for a radius of about 40 miles and up to 10,000 feet high. Once the aircraft climbs beyond the TRACON's airspace, it is handed off to an Air Route Traffic Control Center. There are 24 centers across the country in the Pacific and the Caribbean, each handling a designated segment of airspace. At the end of the journey, the opposite process happens. The aircraft descends down to the receiving TRACON, then to the airport tower as it lands and taxis to its gate. Each major airport has a tower where controllers monitor all aircraft taxiing, taking off, and landing at the airport. Each control tower owns the airspace up to 3,000 feet above and a radius of 5 miles around the airport. Controllers in TRACONs monitor aircraft in departure, descent, and approach. TRACONs can handle air traffic for several different airports in an area. The 24 centers monitor aircraft during cruise altitude. Controllers here sometimes handle dozens of flights at once. It's not just about the safe control and operations of the flights themselves. The ATO also includes nearly 10,000 employees who certify, maintain, and restore air traffic facilities and equipment. Technical Operations, or TechOps, maintains navigational aids, electronics, buildings, and grounds. These men and women assure service availability and reliability, and they support expansion and modernization through engineering, planning, design, and installation of new systems. Our air traffic system depends on the infrastructure we have on the ground. If we don't have adequate airport infrastructure, then that becomes the weak link in our aviation system. The Office of Airports, or ARP, provides leadership in planning and developing a safe and efficient national airport system. ARP helps identify, plan, and fund critical airport infrastructure, such as runways. They also ensure this infrastructure is built, maintained, and operated safely. In this process, they consider economic and environmental impacts, preserve local proprietary rights, and protect public investment. The FAA's Aviation Safety Office, known as AVS, keeps our airspace safe by inspecting, certifying, and developing standards and policies that affect aircraft and their operators. AVS directs and manages safety programs for pilots, aircraft, and airlines in 3 primary areas: standards and policy, certification, and continued operational safety. At all times, the FAA must ensure our nation's air traffic control system infrastructure is safe and protected from security threats, and that passengers are safe from potential hazardous materials. This is the responsibility of our Office of Security and Hazardous Materials, or ASH. These men and women conduct investigations, emergency planning, and incident management. ASH also ensures the security of FAA facilities, personnel, and information. Now that we've highlighted our air traffic control system, let's take a look at some emerging technologies that are reshaping our system and expanding our responsibilities. A new and exciting entrant into our airspace is Unmanned Aircraft Systems, or UAS, commonly called drones. The UAS office within AVS works collaboratively to safely integrate drones into civil airspace by devising rules to ensure that they can safely share airspace with manned aircraft. Our Office of Commercial Space Transportation, called AST for short, works to protect public property and both the national security and foreign policy interests of the United States during commercial space launches and re-entries. AST also encourages, facilitates, and promotes U.S. commercial space transportation. Across the FAA, we are working to modernize the national airspace system, converting ground-based systems that support air traffic to satellite-based technologies. We are implementing the key technologies that are enhancing our airspace, such as new communications, navigation and surveillance capabilities, a data-sharing backbone, and improved weather processing and distribution systems. Beyond all the operational and technical roles at the FAA, there are thousands of people whose jobs are also very important, from lawyers and doctors, contracting officers and HR specialists, to logistics, communications, policy, financial, and administrative staffs. These men and women ensure that programs, policies, and organizational functions behind the scenes are carried out with the utmost effectiveness to make the entire system work smoothly and safely. From providing safe flight to promoting advanced navigation technologies to integrating new entrants and much more, the FAA maintains the global gold standard for aviation. We hope you've enjoyed this video and learned about the critical role the FAA plays in overseeing the safest, most efficient aerospace system in the world.
Every year, the FAA publishes an updated volume of the rules governing civil aviation. It can be accessed for free on the FAA's website. The most important rules for private pilots are found under Part 61 and Part 91. The FAA questions that follow will familiarize you with some of these regulations and help prepare you for the private pilot written exam.